Just wanted to point out the information we provide today is of a general advice. If you do want some more information, please seek some professional advice.
Welcome to the Retirement Living Your Way podcast, where we have real conversations with Troy Theobald and the team from RFS Advice. My name's Greg Black. Troy, welcome.
Welcome.
Great to see you again.
Oh,
it's been a while.
Looking forward to this one.
Absolutely.
Why is that? Get this
first
question out of the way first, and then we'll know.
Okay, well, let's just bring Brooke back into the conversation. So Brooke Rewalt is one of the advisors at RFS Advice, and due to popular demand, we brought Brooke back to talk about all things.
Well, it's going to be a financial checklist either for ladies over 50 or women over 50, and we don't think as males we should make the choice for the heading. So it's over to you, Brooke.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Troy. I think let's go with ladies.
Okay.
Ladies. Perfect. Okay. Well, I think what we wanted to do today was, I guess, get into nuts and bolts of it and really give ladies over 50, and it really doesn't have to put a number on it. No. It's really those ladies that actually want to take control of their financial situation, maybe looking for some guidance. And we just thought, and Troy and Brooke have put together a fantastic little checklist. So this one might be a little bit drier than the normal ones, but we just thought it was really important to sort of, throw a few things in there that might be useful. So, Troy, do you want to just sort of give a bit more of an overview of the checklist and where it's coming from?
It's probably around helping people get financially ready in the background, or if they were going to reach out for advice, what should they be looking at? What ideas should they be thinking? If they're going to be a DIY and do it themselves, just a bit of a broad framework there. So we'll run through about 6 key areas there around assessing where you're at, because you've got to know your current position. Then how do we strengthen that and get ready if we're into pre-retirement? How do we protect the health and wealth if we have situational changes there? How do we manage our debt and cash flow? Planning for estate planning and legacy there, and investing in or with some financial confidence. We'll move into that.
Fantastic. So lots to talk about. Brooke, you look excited.
I am excited.
That's
I think
good.
This is a very, very good topic to be discussing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so look, let's start off on, I guess, that first point, assessing your current financial position, because I think that can be quite daunting.
Absolutely.
Would that be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite daunting to actually stop and have a look at where you are now, particularly if you have had your head in the sand for a period of time or not had that financial control or self-dependence previously. If you've lent on someone else for that, having a look at what your position is and what that means can be overwhelming at times, yes. Which is where it's really important as well to lean on a professional as you do that. Assessing your current financial position really comes down to having a look at what your assets, your liabilities are. That could be through your properties, super, investments outside of that, and then debts, of course, could be the mortgage, and having a look at what your income and expenses look like. So that really comes fundamentally, that is the question to be assessing.
And just on that, sorry to cut you off then, just on that, do you find that ladies are across the detail on their monthly expenditure and so forth? Because I think, Troy, as you know, I'm generalising here. I'm going to dig myself a massive hole. I do apologise to anyone that I offend, but I tend to find like a lot of males will just probably aren't as so much into the
tap the card and someone else takes care of it.
Or is that just you and I? I don't know.
Probably.
Where my wife and your wife would know
what it runs to a household.
So do you find that when ladies are coming in, Brooke, and sitting down with you and you're asking those sorts of questions about income and expenses, how across the detail are they?
Very. Yeah, typically females are a bit more on the conservative side with the spending as well, particularly at that stage of life. They're more concerned with financial security. That's always top of mind when they walk through the door. They just want to know that they're okay, what they're spending makes sense, and that it's going to last their lifetime as well. We know females are typically outliving males by the statistics at the moment around 5 years longer, and that is a longevity risk as well for females. So they need to make sure that they're living within their means.
Okay. So list of assets, liabilities, knowing where everything is, looking at their expenses, their income, and then what about things like ownership structures and things like that? Does that play into much of? I
mean, we're going to need that at a point, but yeah, that fundamental is what assets have we got, where are we coming from, and how much are we spending in their household, and that. Quite often, we'll ask that as one of the first questions. A lot of the time, people, it's a great question. I always laugh and say they'll be on a team pod. It's not a great question. It's just something everyone needs to know.
Yes.
And it's per household. It's not what I read. Before I came in, I jumped on Google's MyGov website and it told me I spend $42,000. No. What do you actually spend in your house? It's not a judgy answer on what you'd
No.
aspirationally like to spend. And we always laugh there, I've got a budget. And we'll go, I don't care about your budget. What we want to know is what you're spending. I could have a wonderful budget. Doesn't
If
mean I'm
not
sticking
sticking
to
to
it.
Yeah. You're
So
right.
once we actually get, then we can really cut to the chase of have we got enough assets and liabilities and what we're spending, and then we can really build out something that's robust and going to be useful, as opposed to that nice conversation. Oh, if you spend about this.
Yeah, it's very general, and there's the value in that.
Yeah.
Because it is quite funny. I know that when you have new clients coming in, and if I'm speaking with them, it's like, well, what do I need to bring? It's like, well, just yourself.
Correct.
And an understanding of your position. And most people, and obviously the ladies are very much across this, but understanding where you're at.
Yeah.
And you can do that rather than bringing in the papers. You often tell the story, no, we don't need, we'll put that to the side.
Yeah, they'll know how much the credit card bill is, and we spend the other outside, and I take $100 a week cash or $200 for here or there, and plus holidays and trips. You can soon get to a pretty close real number of what they know.
Yep. So once you've assessed the current what's next in the sort of taking the client through the journey?
Yeah, of course. So next is really then doing that education piece of what different levels of spending looks like with the income that they've got coming in or the income that could be generated from their overall asset position as well. So it's allowing them to have that informed decision as to what different levels of spending and lifestyle could look like, and also having that contingency for unexpected expenses, which could be health related, could be something with the kids or with properties and things along those lines as well. You want to make sure you've still got a good buffer aside for that as well.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, so if you look at that under that that fits really into that managing debt and cash flow. So if they've got credit cards and things there, let's pay those higher interest debts off first there. Heading towards retirement, it's probably not the time to take up a very large debt and expenditure there if you're wanting to retire. Or get a new puppy if you want to travel, but that's a different issue.
We've seen that a few times.
We have. Look, reassessing mortgages, if you're going towards retirement or you're finding cash flows tough, can we consider downsizing? Is there ability to do that? Do we want to do that, or do we not want to do that?
Just on that, do you see a theme with that? Or do people, they think they need to go down that path, or?
A lot of people think they need to before they actually need to.
Yeah.
So any house is going to, basically from the second you walk in, if it's warm and new and shiny, it's going to start falling apart straight away. They all cost money. The lawns are a pain. There's gardens, there's stuff breaks. So it doesn't matter what you live in. So there's sort of a theory, some people, my house is old and all those things. There can be those, but it's just because you moved to something else, you could be buying someone else's problem. So it's not a magic fix.
Mm-hmm.
If they do want units so they have less upkeep, there's more certainty, as in I pay my body corp, but what comes with that is I walk out the door and 27 people want to say hello. Some people will hate that.
Yep.
Some people love that. Some ladies like the security of that and having people around. Others, have moved into those situations and really don't like it.
Yeah, we've seen that. They don't really like the nosy parkers around the door as well. So it just depends on personal preference, and everyone's going to have a different idea of what's their ideal situation at the end of the day, and it's just working in with that and knowing how to do so.
Okay, and what about for those that come through and you have a look at their asset position, and there's more that they can be doing with their asset position, and whether that's whether they're using superannuation, whether they've got it outside. There's obviously ways, and there's ideal ways to build out a portfolio and a client's asset position. Those sorts of things. What are some of the things that you think at a higher level people should be at least thinking about?
Yeah, definitely should be looking at their risk tolerance and the risk exposure that they do have. So often we'll see people coming in having not looked at their superannuation, and it's normally on one end of the spectrum being either really, really conservative to the point where it's not working for you and your money's going backwards every year, or they might be overly aggressive for the income they're trying to generate and their life stage as well. So somewhere in that middle, in that balanced middle of the road approach is typically what you start to see people taper down to towards the retirement age, and having something that's sustainable over time that'll deliver the income they need without being overly aggressive or volatile is the ideal scenario. So just having a look at what that could look like for that particular person, and having a sound strategy that reduces risk over time for them.
And Troy, anything from your end that you sort of...
Yeah, and it's sort of that, what is super, and looking at by definition, it's just an investment, but it's in there because it has a better tax outcome.
Yes.
The downside is, there's some restrictions. So that's the trade-off around that, but it's not this magic black box of, it's super over there.
Because I think there's still that thought with a lot
absolutely.
of people out there, isn't it's over there. I can't. I'm not really sure. When the reality is, it's so different.
And majority of the time, as Brooke said, people are just in a balanced middle of the road approach. It's a balance fund in a wrapper of super because for tax that made more sense than having it outside. Or some people it just because they went to work and it went in there. But it's really sitting down and having that conversation, looking at the benefits of that, because when you do get a little older, much older than Greg and I, Brooke, before you smile, much older.
Much older.
There is benefits around, no taxation and things where you can work really well in retirement. So that's the appeal for it really, is that ability to give tax-free income in retirement. And, how do you maximise that ability? And it's getting harder to put big amounts into super, so it takes more time to plan.
Now, I think if we're looking at a checklist, we really want people to be thinking about, okay, well, if I'm 55 or 60 and I want to stop work or planning to stop work in another 5 or 10 years, that checklist is really, where am I today? Mm-hmm. Where do I need to be tomorrow by that? I think that's really important. I think that's where these sorts of things come into their own.
Because that's it. We know what we're spending today, but what are we going to spend in retirement? And that tax is a huge swing. So, you might have a teacher on $100,000 income and they're going, oh my goodness, I need $1.5 million in super, but you're paying tax. You probably only need 65 to 70 in retirement to have that same after-tax position you had now. So just recognising the differences based on that.
And do you find many clients come in and they're shocked that they can actually retire?
Oh, regularly.
Mm-hmm. Because I think people have this image, and I think you're spot on. It's people, they're earning X amount of dollars, but they don't understand maybe some of the tax side of things.
Yeah, correct. And people often, you don't know what you don't know. No. So until you reach out and get that professional guidance, they don't really understand what level of assets they need to generate what income they need and what that income should be or could look like in retirement, and what's reasonable with trips and travel and all those sorts of things on top as well. So it's often just that the education isn't there for them to feel confident in that decision at that time, and then they come in the door and we run the numbers, and the numbers are the numbers, and more often than not it's normally a good story or there's a plan to get to that good story.
Yep.
We had a couple last week, exactly that when they first came in, it was, there's a time frame of 5 years and and we're going to move down the coast from Brisbane, we're going to do all this. And we're like, time frames don't overly inspire. Let's have a look at where you're at and where you'd like to get to. But she was very clear as to what her outcome was more, when are we there that we can do that? Because that was you can just see the bubble. She could clearly see that's what it was. And tell us when we're there. And we put it on the board, and Brooke and I looked at each other going, well, that'd be now. And you could just see and she could touch it like it's real.
It's real.
Let's go. He's got other things in his mind around.
Yeah.
Am I ready? Am I allowed? It's almost all those decisions and things you got to go through, and that can be either way in a couple, the other way around.
Yeah.
But I can just picture this because we just sort of watch this conversation unravel in front of us there, and then watching when they've come back down again. It's like, it was the elephant in the room of the first question, which, I went straight for the red button. And, so we moved down already or what? So, but for her, she really knew what's important, and I just want to maximise that. You're telling we can do that with safety, security, and we've got enough buffers. Yep. Well, why wouldn't we choose to do that? And we're like, well, that's your part of your side of the table, but we can definitely help deliver that outcome, and we don't need to take too much risk to deliver that. So it's nice when that's the case.
And that must be a really good feeling when you look at couples or people like that have been very astute. They've saved all their lives. They've done things. They've planned, and being in that position is it must be quite nice to be the one to let them know.
Yeah, and absolutely, very feel good.
And then for those that may not be in that position, at least they've got a plan to work towards.
Absolutely. And it is, and then they're the ones we probably give a time frame. You know what? You're 2 to 3 years short.
Yeah, but again, you're better off knowing.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, and then it really helps them put their head down, knuckle down, and get to where they want to get to. And we find those people that do have that plan in mind, have that amount, and they really set their heads to it as well. And we're also seeing retirement trends change over time. Like, we definitely have a lot more people that do the partial retirement now. They still want to be involved and have that social aspect of work. It might not necessarily be something that they've done for their whole career. It might be a change into a different industry, something that's a bit more casual or contract style, and keep that keep their brain working, keep that social aspect as well, and then balance that in the household if the other partner's retired completely.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So we've really currently, if looking at the checklist, assess the current financial position, strengthen the readiness. So having a look at that. What about things like insurance? And because obviously as people are working with, they've got young kids, and we see it, and I'm in that stage. You need insurance to protect in case something does happen. Yeah. Those sorts of conversations, they would form part of the overall plan.
Yeah, it's there, and it's got a need when it's needed. So especially if you're here as a single female with kids and you're the breadwinner,
right.
you're going to feel a burden.
Yes,
it's hard because those costs have gone up.
Yeah,
but it's still a necessity.
Yes.
Whereas as you get close to retirement and those burdens ease, it's probably less of a necessity, and then it becomes a luxury, and then it becomes something that's a choice you don't need.
Yes.
And that there's no magic rule of thumb for that, unfortunately, because it's each individual situation. But yeah, definitely we do empathise with people that are needing that when they're the breadwinner and you've got those costs.
Yes. And I guess it's sort of not to the same extent cash flow. Is there an ideal sort of level of sort of cash that you tend to think's prudent for people to have, or is that too hard to answer?
Look, our retirees, it doesn't care whether you're male or female, you should have 1 to 2 years cash buffer. That's just how life works. But when you're pre-retirement, it's hard to get that big buffer to get ahead. And then how do you juggle that? And we've got a couple of ladies who were probably short on that time frame, and they ended up doing some of the volunteering through Centrelink. That allowed them to get some Centrelink coming in, so they weren't drawing on their super early. They were prepared to do the volunteering in those hours because that delivered the outcome for them there. And so sometimes there's other ways than just having to do what you've always been doing as well.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. Just having a look at other things. Is there anything from you mentioned earlier, Troy, about paying off high interest debts and things like that. We really don't want to be carrying debts through retirement.
No, the leasing the new car, we had someone the other day like, should I package the car up? And well, you walked in the door and said you're going to retire in the next 12 months. So having a lease package that's going to run for 4 years doesn't sound like a great idea. No, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, so I think obviously managing that, and I guess it's really calling these things out that people need to be thinking about. Would that be fair, Brooke?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what about, and I hate to talk about it, but it's very, very important, and we were fortunate we had Peter Muller here on one of the previous podcasts talking about wills and estate planning. But, it might be a horrible topic, but it's a really important one. So any thoughts on
I think men and ladies are equally as bad at avoiding it.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's just in Australia that's a bit of a head in the sand topic. But it is definitely something we're seeing people tackle more, and it's something we always discuss in our meetings. We check whether people have those in place as soon as they walk in the door. It's critical. And we have the aged care side of the business at RFS Advice, so it's very front of mind to us what can happen when people don't have these important documents in place and haven't had these conversations with the family. It can be an absolute nightmare. It can tear families apart, and it just makes a situation that's already incredibly difficult even more so. And that's an unnecessary burden to have at that time if you can prevent and plan for some of the estate pieces that need to be done.
Yeah, and that's really a non-negotiable, isn't it?
It
when
is.
you think about it.
It is.
That's something that, as much as people hate it, I know when they come into our world, that's something we make sure that it...
Absolutely. And once you've got those documents in place, you can have that peace of mind in knowing that too. So we've all heard or seen or been a part of sad stories there. So to have the documents in place, it just makes everything much easier for people going through those.
Yeah.
And some people have had them in place and may not have necessarily known the intricacies of it until it's become important. So they've had a health situation or a change, and then what does it say?
Yes.
So it's just having that extra ear just to point out, no, is this what you wanted, and this is what it says, and just, I suppose, clarifying some of those issues there, because legal speak tends to be fairly wordy and
absolutely.
27 pages to say I'm leaving it to my 3 kids with a testamentary trust each, and the rest is just waffle and legal words. Why would I do that? Oh, that protects them and their family, and if there's any situation for them. Oh, okay, well, that sounds like the outcome I want. Yes, okay, we can move on. So sometimes people have dealt with the issues but mightn't have really had them as explained as well as could have been.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. So just looking at the checklist for ladies, then if I have a look at that, ladies, men doesn't, at the end of the day, that a checklist is there, and I think there's some really good points we've sort of called out here. Is there anything else that you think? Because if you have a look at it, what's the current situation? Understand where you want to go. Understand your capacity and your ability to actually live the lifestyle that you want. You've got your you've got your debts, you've got your estate planning under control, all of that. What else is there, do you think, is really important for ladies especially, but just in general, what do you think people should be thinking about from a well-being and from a getting ahead perspective?
Yeah, I think the wellbeing space is huge. I think that you can talk about all the financials are fundamental, but having that confidence with their financial spend is really important, and knowing that everything's in order so that they can go out and focus on what's important to them in retirement and what passions they have, and live a life that they want to live, not be in anxiety thinking that they can't spend this or they can't do this or this might fall apart. If they have that confidence in their structure and strategy that they have, it'll lead to a much more fruitful lifestyle for them, and that security piece is huge. Having that empowerment to be able to live the life you want is important.
So how often do you get questions from clients? Like, you look after a lot of clients with Troy, and how many clients would look like? Do you find it's at the start of when they haven't been, they're building up their confidence, they'll ring and say, hey, look, I'm looking to buy this, or I'm thinking of that. And obviously, I know you're a sounding board. Does that sort of get to a point where then they have enough confidence, or they still just love having you or Troy as that sounding board? Because
it's a bit of both. I think females, not to pick on men here, but females definitely like to run through the decisions before they're made more often. Males often ring after and go, I just did this, I did that. Is this okay?
I've done that.
All right, well, now we've got to make sure it's okay.
I need the money because I just bought this super expensive car, as opposed to, hey, I'm thinking of changing the car over and what's a realistic budget, and I was thinking about X, and then it's normally a much simpler control process. To Brooke's point, not, wow, I've got to sell investments and pay this thing down because they said they'd take it home in 24 hours because it's unrealistic time frame. So, we do definitely see a difference in genders in regards to how they approach those bigger ticket items there, but certainly having that more educational piece, and that's one thing Brooke's certainly championing in our firm there, is just having that for ladies to reach out so that they and you wrote some really good notes on the radio show that, and we picked 50 as just because that's around our age bracket for Greg and I. So if you look back through there and you look at our parents, there was the male probably went to work and mum paid the bills, but were they given any empowerment how to manage the money, and that? Possibly not. And then the next generation coming through is where more degrees, education and that, but there wasn't probably a lot of finance-related degrees. And then you get to Brooke's generation where we're outnumbered in our office by our ladies with degrees that are living and breathing this stuff and helping others with it. So it's a massive swing in the last 20-odd years.
Yeah. Which is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think females still like to have that sounding board, even when they've got the confidence and the education behind them. They still like someone to talk about, particularly if they're widowed or divorced and they don't have that sounding board at home. They like to, even the repartnered, they like to still call a professional and have that open conversation with no judgment, because it's not typically things that they feel comfortable talking to their friends about, the specifics of their finances. It's no judgment phone call, and we can give that advice and confidence for them to make the decision that they need to, or the informed knowledge.
But it must be rewarding, like we were talking before about when a client comes in and you're actually able to say, hey, look, you can retire. Having a client come through the journey and all of a sudden the types of questions that they're actually asking you would evolve over time.
Oh, absolutely.
As their knowledge improves, I think that to me is, that's got to be rewarding.
Yeah, you see that shift. And even talking on the rewarding side of things, we have the dream board in the office, which is photos clients send through of them achieving, whether it's the car they bought, the trip, or something with their family. They send through all these exciting milestone moments in their life. And they're things that we might have spoken to those clients about for years prior, and they've achieved it, and they send it straight through to us. We share it with the team. The whole office is buzzing. We talk about where they've been, what they've done, and the story behind it. And it's really inspiring, and it's just such a critical part to why we do what we do.
Yeah, spot on. And what's interesting, you 12 months ago, I'd say we'd get 4 to 6 photos a week coming through, and wow, talk about undercooking that. I think there's like 10 to 12 to 14 photos per week at least.
Yes.
And some of the life lives people are living is just amazing. It's
Insane,
it's fantastic, and I think that's a credit to Troy and the whole concept of the Dream Board. I think that's and our office, as you said, we buzz from it. It goes around the whole office, which is fantastic.
We look at those ones this morning. I know he won't mind me talking about these giant lobster that we sent around over in Canada. Now that's they're out having a wow of a time now, but 12, 24 months ago, two of them came in with a different conversation, and he's like, well, I need you to make sure she's okay, and understands where everything is. I went, we're going to sit here and we're going to go back to first principles and make sure we run through exactly where everything is, what would happen, so that, knowledge is power. Haven't needed it, thankfully, which is great. But from their perspective and her perspective was just, no, you and I are just going to sit down and go through this. He's all over it. We're just going to sit here and go through, make sure you're comfortable in regards to that. So, there is that, that scenario is, it's just giving that education and that power. And that's, once they've got that, it's there in the background now, which is great. We've dealt with the issue, and hopefully we don't need to deal with it in the immediate future. But, that's where we do find ladies do want to come and talk. And, we had another lady in this morning, same thing. It's, well, what if this would happen? What if that would happen? What if, all right, I don't need you to fix these, but can you give me some general direction as to where we might go when we get to this point, if we get to this point?
Yes.
Oh, you've dealt with this before.
Yes.
And I think that's really where we probably see that difference, wouldn't it be, Brooke?
Absolutely, and there's no two situations the same, but we have seen a large variety of scenarios that have happened out there and what strategies can look like. And I think the people asking these questions have seen it secondhand through their friends, family, or heard stories, and they want to know that they're going to be okay if X, Y, Z happens. And that is just the fact of life, that these things do unfortunately happen. And that does change their situation and their strategy. They need to be adapted and flexible for that. Yeah.
And look, I think we're very fortunate at RFS. We all often talk about where technical capability meets real-world understanding. And I think that's something that, we've got the smarts because we've been doing it for a very long period of time. We've recruited highly intelligent individuals such as yourself. We've got a structure and a team environment where people stay, and, the average tenure within RFS is just under 8 years, which is pretty incredible. And I think that really does, allow us to actually, understand what's going on and really, I think, get to the core of what's important. And I think, to me, the heart of our office is that dream board photos where we celebrate what comes through.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes back as well to that collaborative approach too. We have in our team 3 qualified advisors. So when we're looking at a client scenario, we're getting 3 different points of view that have seen different scenarios with their clients as well. So it's making sure that we can have the best outcome for the clients with what they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And likewise with the other teams, we've got a team that specialises in aged care. Nikki's team specialise as well in that sort of pre-post retirement. But if they've got situation like she sent me one, I can have a second opinion. Yep. And same for Darko's down there, looking after a lot of those business clients. 20 in the broad team, but enough qualifications around that you're not making or solving decisions on your own, even where having that collaborative approach times the number of clients we see times that, and always learning. So I think that's that's the key, is you've got to be open to always learning. There's things that are changing.
Absolutely.
I know Brooke helped someone pay a tax bill.
Help is a loosely held word there, but she did it herself, and she came into the office and she was very excited. I've never seen someone excited about paying the tax man before, but it was more the fact that she hadn't had to do any of her finance related matters for decades and been done by the male in the house. They unfortunately split, and this was something that was quite daunting for her to reach out, get help from a number of us financial professionals out there, and she was just absolutely ecstatic that she did it herself.
That's brilliant.
And it was a complete change in demeanour from the first meeting to when she came in the door with that.
Fantastic. No, that's great. Well, look, I think one of the things that we've really tried to do over the last number of months is really build out a lot of the information, because when we talk about confidence, we've put a lot of information on the RFS website. So for those of you out there looking for further information, maybe to get a bit more of a sense of who we are as a business, obviously we're doing the monthly talkback show on 4CRB, which we absolutely love. All of the shows are on there. Our podcasts are on there now. So there's a lot of information on the actual show, so I do encourage anyone to have a look at that. And if you do want to reach out, just send a little inquiry. You'll have yours truly that'll be the one speaking to you, to have a bit of a chat about not about the advice side, but to see what you're looking for, and obviously can certainly organise organise a time to catch up with Troy or Brooke or one of the other members of the team. So, look, I think today's conversation, I've really enjoyed having the checklist. I think it's great. I think we've covered a couple of really important things and probably just it's simplified it to a point. There's a lot in it, but there's not. Do you know what I mean? I think
and ladies are more likely to actually use a checklist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll probably
do the
file
data
this away.
and actually, hang on, expenses. Oh, it's 10 grand a month. Oh, I could actually look at my bank statements and work that out.
Yeah.
And just hopefully have a better outcome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Brooke, thank you for joining us.
Very welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's been fantastic. And Troy, always a pleasure, mate. Always.
Who knows what we'll be talking about next.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep well. Take care. Thank you.